We'd like to welcome you to the third Conscious Crew podcast. I'm DJ Marty. To my left, we got Rodney. We got Bobby Pate to my right, and Equinox down on the end. Man, we had a very special show last night. We were real happy about the turnout of the Conscious Kickback, and these podcasts have been doing well online, and people are responding to that. So we appreciate all the viewers and people that have taken the time to watch what we've had so far. Special guest, we've got Bobby Pate here. I wanted to bring him on. He's got a few things going on in the community, and we just wanted to hear a little bit more about what he's got going on. And let's take a minute for him to go ahead and introduce himself.
Sure. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me on this show. This is an opportunity, and I like taking full advantage of it. To tell you a little bit about my story, I born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa, went to Johnston High School, graduated, and was a basketball standout, high school basketball standout. I had the opportunity to play in college on a full ride scholarship, and then even in the pros for a very short stint. After coming out of college and after coming out of my professional career of basketball, I had realized that I had actually went to college without a purpose. And what I mean by that is I basically had no understanding or was not prepared for the real world. And so once I hit the real world, I reverted back to my old ways when I was 14 years old in selling crack cocaine. And ultimately, I landed in prison and spent 11 consecutive years. That's where I decided to change my life, change my heart, change my mind. And so I began working as a mentor, helping inmates kind of discover self-identity. As I got closer to the end of my sentence, I started a program in prison called the IMAGE program, and it stands for Inmate Movement Against Gang Evolution. So IMAGE, IMAGE, stands for Inmate Movement Against Gang Evolution. The program is still actually in prison. As I began to re-enter society, the day that I got out, I knew that I had something to give back to the community from what I learned. And so I then established the IMAGE program in society. I started my 501c3 nonprofit, got it incorporated, and got a lot of help from the community, and it just began to snowball.
All right.
Obviously, it led to my radio show on 98.3 The Vibe every Sunday morning called the Image Reentry Show. So basically what we do is we help guys coming out of prison. We're just getting ready to launch a brand new program called First Fridays. Every first Friday of the month, we'll have a 4-week curriculum where we'll have guys who are making the transition into society, and we'll be able to help them through referrals and guest speaking and kind of just cohorting them. And we'll have a graduation once a month. That will be the First Friday celebration. It'll be a positive celebration, and probably some type of a ballroom. Haven't really got that part established yet. But so the IMAGE program is in the Des Moines community. Personally, from my perspective, for what I've went through in my life, I feel that it's my calling to give back. And so the good Lord has blessed me and put me in position to where I'm able to give back, and that's what I want to do. I want to live in my calling.
Word.
That's beautiful, man.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, yeah, we commend you on everything you're doing, and being able to come out and not just get yourself together, which is hard for a lot of people coming out, but to also bringing other people to help them on their road.
Yes.
Because once you've been a part of the system, I know that it's a lot harder to get out of that, and it's kind of designed that way. So
it's been a lot of fun, man. Just communicating with different people, being able to have opportunities to come on different podcasts and shows like this. You know, I've been on the news a lot, KCCI News Channel 8, News Channel 13, and then also had the chance to go to Washington, D.C., and I was out there lobbying congressional leaders for Pell Grant restoration for the incarcerated. Okay. And so, you know, it's been a blessing. You know, it's been work, but all in all, it's you know, I'm living in my passion.
So tell me, what kind of resources do you think is necessary for people to have for them to be able to be successful? I mean, we think about like a good support system when you come home. You're not coming right back to your old ways that maybe led you to that. I know that'd probably be an important thing.
Yeah.
What other things do you think is important for somebody's success?
I think number one, you have to be able to lock down some identity and some self-identity about yourself. You know, you got to know. Okay, we all know you got to get a job. Well, what kind of job are you going to get? You know, you don't want to just go get a job at McDonald's, or if, you know, a construction job if you're not a construction worker. I mean, you have to live in your passion.
Sure.
So doesn't mean that you have to find that job that adds directly in line with what you want to do, because you're probably not going to find that. But locking down a job in employment and making sure that your time is occupied, I think is key. Right. And, you know, so I always try to tell guys to find a job that you like doing. And right now, there's plenty of jobs out there available. So, right. You know, you can be kind of picky with that and find something that you really enjoy doing, and that's going to make you successful.
Sure. So they also, you said you had worked for some Pell Grants and went to Washington, D.C. I'm not sure if this still applies or not, but I know there used to be some kickbacks for employers if they were to bring on a person who was recently released from incarceration. I can't remember the number exactly. They get like a certain percentage. It was a nice, healthy percentage for companies to hire felons on. What do you know about that?
Yeah, that's the tax bond. It's a bonding. I don't know the exact wording, but for employers who hire felons, they're able to receive a credit at the end of the year. It's a write-off that they actually get, and it's through the a tax, some kind of a tax bond. Mm-hmm. But they're actually compensated. They can save dollars for hiring felons.
And I think it was like 40% or something. It was something. Yeah, it was something healthy.
You know, you'd be surprised. A lot of employers don't even take advantage of that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a one opportunity. What else did you learn through going to Washington, D.C., and what kind of resources are available for people as they come out?
Well, so we've got, first of all, resources that are available for people coming out of prison. You have the Evelyn K. Davis Center for Working Families, and that's 1171 University, 7th Street, right behind Quick Trip.
So here in Des Moines, Iowa. Okay.
Yeah, yes, here in Des Moines, Iowa. If you want to start, say, a nonprofit organization, if you want to start your own business, there are boot camps there that, you know, most time in prison, people are always having that idea of wanting to start their own business when they get out, whether it be in rap, hip hop, whatever. Well, you can actually go get the training, the certification at the Evelyn K. Davis Center for free. They have people that come in, they teach you entrepreneurial skills. They have grant writing classes. There's even some dollars available for you to get started for your small business. They have logos. They have people there that are willing to coach you, and all this is absolutely free. So, you know, there's options out there for people that are looking to come out and change their lives. Also, if you're looking to, say, drive trucks, get your CDLs. You know, you can go through the Workforce Training Academy absolutely free.
There's good money in that.
Yes, there is.
If you're willing to hit the road.
Yeah.
I'm also a journeyman carpenter, so, you know, as far as construction, I know you said it's not for everybody, which is not, and you know, you don't want to do something. If you rather work in the kitchen, you like to cook, then maybe that's better for you instead of climbing on top of roofs. You know what I'm saying? That's not for everybody, but you know, there are ways and careers, I'd say, for people coming out that you know, you can actually make some good money and
yeah, most definitely
provide for yourself and your family.
Yeah. Now the Washington D.C. trip, that was particularly exciting for me because it gave me the opportunity to meet with other people that were coming out of prison in a leadership position, and they were successful. So basically what that was the United Way Task Force Reentry Program. The director there and his staff actually had voted me to represent Iowa. They needed somebody to represent Iowa, and so they put my name in. I got selected. They flew me out to Washington, D.C., paid for everything, hotel, food, and I got the chance to actually meet Congress leaders and people who make these decisions in the laws and policies that are in our correctional facilities throughout the nation. And so I was able to show them how important education was in our prison system. And not just for the people that were in general population or the people that were coming out, but also for the lifers who would spend the rest of their life in prison, because they're the mentors. That's where I learned from. There were guys in there who were serving life sentences who wanted to give back, wanted to do something with their time, and they taught me how to start the image program. They showed me what bylaws were. They showed me what integrity was, doing things when the eyes aren't on you. So the prison actually, I don't glorify it by any means, and Lord knows I never want to go back there. However, it was a place that, I needed to really get my mind and kind of mature and realize that life is not a joke.
Mm-hmm. Right. I have a question. If somebody's watching this and they want to contribute or be of service, what path would they take to help this movement?
Well, again, I am about to launch a cohort. I'm going to start off small with probably about 5 guys. And so we'll RSVP 5 guys. We'll meet once a week. This is for our first Friday event. It's a 4-week curriculum. And we'll really just get in depth and talk once a week about how to overcome your barriers when you come out of prison. We know that, first of all, restitution is a big one. Fines, child support, most people have that. Transportation and employment, and a lot of it is self-identity, figuring out who you are in life, what direction you want to go. So we'll sit down and we'll talk about these things. For those of you out there that may be listening or watching right now, you can actually go to my website. It's www.imageforlives.com. My email address is rpate.image@gmail.com. So that's rpate, P-A-T-E, .image @gmail.com. The website, imageforlives.com. That's IMAGE, the number 4, lives, LIVES.com. And we can set something up. We can get together. I do a lot of counseling and mentoring and things like that. And so, I'm here. I'm willing to give my love, my time, and my compassion.
So, when it comes to milestones or goals that you're working for, as far as for the future, are there any that you have in mind that you haven't quite hit yet that you're working to get to?
Yeah, I would like to work with the parents. I get a lot of calls from loved ones who have loved ones who are in prison or maybe on the wrong track, and they're looking for some ways to kind of, they want to hear my story. They want to find out some different ways that they can help. So one of the things that I really want to start working with is parents, families that have no clue how to address situations that they're faced with when it comes to their loved ones being incarcerated.
Right.
Now, when it comes to doing your work, I imagine that you would face some kind of resistance somewhere at some point, or maybe some pushback. Do you experience any of that? And, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I do. Obviously, with reentry being a big topic, you have a lot of people that are involved. Now, sometimes they may feel like I'm kind of a threat because of the fact that, I'm one that's involved who has actually been there and done that. Mm-hmm. And so I like to think that maybe I'm a little more effective when it comes to actually hands-on reentry. However, I don't have the experience, and the whole structure of doing this. So there's a lot of people, a lot of companies that are just, way ahead of me when it comes to that. And so, with the intimidation there, they can actually, use their power if they wanted to, to kind of, brush me away. However, the favor that I've received through the good Lord, they have been more helpful than anything. So that's been a positive.
Beautiful.
I imagine also that there's probably some people out there that just say, we don't want to waste our time or our money on these inmates, but reentry is a thing, and giving people those resources, they're gonna come back out. They're gonna come out the way that they were, and they're gonna get back to the old ways, and it's gonna affect the community that way. Or you can embrace them, and work with them on with your impact program while they're incarcerated. And I would like to see it be like fluid transition. That would be amazing if we could get the funding for you on a program where, you start the program here with your job training, you come right out, and in that transition it goes, you come right to the office, and everything, just like we told you the system was gonna work. Okay, now you're, that would be an amazing thing if that integration could happen.
Yeah, that's right, Marty. And I tell you, again, that's one of the good things that I've been able to experience is working for the Evelyn K. Davis Center. They've allowed me that opportunity to be able to still be successful with image and still work for the Evelyn K. Davis Center. Now, of course, there's some boundaries there, and so, I have to be careful with that. But, reentry is a huge topic right now. And even in Washington, D.C., it was huge. And so I think that this is a good time for me. I think that it's a good time for my career and what I'm doing. It's just going to take more focus, more listening, more getting outside of myself. And, one of the things that Marvin DeGier, the director there at the Evelyn K. Davis, tells me is, he keeps instilling in me and my mentors as well is, you have to get out of that prison way of thinking. Now, I don't see myself as an institutionalized guy because I don't feel that I am. However, there are still some barriers mentally that I have to overcome when it comes to just learning platforms and dealing with people on the other side.
So now, a question about that. I actually have two questions, but I'm gonna do one after the other.
Okay.
So you say you don't consider yourself somebody who's been institutionalized. What goes into keeping yourself from falling into that? Like, was it mental preparation beforehand, or was there something specific that kept you from being institutionalized?
That is a good question. That's the Equinox. That's a great question. And so institutionalized. One of the things that has kept me from being institutionalized is I stay active. I never kept myself closed up or locked in. I, had an open mind. I was completely involved with things on the outside. I had a lot of outside support throughout this time, visits, people coming in. I stayed involved with programming, sports inside, and I think that I have to really give that credit to being a devoted Christian and reading my Bible while I was in prison. I stayed in it, I meditated on it, and it kind of just took me out of prison to where I was able to discover self-identity, who I was. I may be a big guy, but I'm not a violent guy. Never had a violent crime, never did anything really violent. Okay. So once I was able to discover the fact that, hey, I am who I am, I'm a nice guy, I'm not prejudiced, I'm not racist, I get along with white people just like I do blacks, and, that's just who I am. And once I started being myself and discovering who I was and acting like myself, that's where a lot of the success kind of just trickled down in every area, including institutionalism.
Okay. Now, when it came to the idea or the motivation to start a program like this, was this something that you were thinking about while you were incarcerated, or is this something that came to you after you had gotten out?
No, this actually started while I was in prison. Never thought about it before, but when I became a mentor and started helping other inmates and getting paid for it,
Right.
that there was the game changer. And then I watched all these other inmates. Well, there was a handful of them who had actually started programs in prison.
Right.
And that was very, very inspiring. And I figured if they could do it, I could too.
Okay. So, as far as the re-entry into the job area and whatnot, do you have any advice for people who are getting out and want to either resume or jump into building the family aspect, either with getting reacquainted with family that they've got now, or trying to find a new family, or just creating that support in general where you're not just by yourself and alone once you get out? Is there
Well, first of all, I would have to say for people that are coming out of prison, you have to have in your mindset slow. When I say slow, everything kind of has to stop. It has to be about you and your freedom. You want to make sure, most of the time people coming out of prison are on parole. So, or very seldom they discharge coming straight out. But most of them that are on parole, you have guidelines that you have to abide by. And so coming out, you can't get overwhelmed by the other people, the old friends, and what everybody else is doing, because you can't do that, point blank. And it's for your best that you can't do that. You have to realize that that's for your benefit. We get so upset and caught up with the fact that, I got to turn in my check. I'm at the fort and I got to go work, 40 hours a week and then come back and turn in my check to my counselor. Well, the reality is that you get to turn in your check, because that's your money. They can't take it. And you get the opportunity to slow your life down, see what's in front of you, and be able to make right decisions. And most of the time people, they look at that the wrong way. And so they take off, after maybe once, twice, turning in their check, they'll take off, spend their money, and they'll get influenced by other people, who can't really comprehend the meaning and the understanding of the discipline of coming out and being law-abiding citizens.
okay?
It's a process. Right?
It's a process, man.
And a lot of people are afraid that being incarcerated, I would assume, you probably build up some anxiousness. You think you come out, you got all these plans and everything's, you got all this, you feel like you just had an open opportunity, but it's still, you got to go through the proper steps to accomplish goals just like anybody.
That's right. And some people don't know what to expect when they get out. You could do 11 months, or 11 years, and it's still the same as far as getting out. You don't know, you think you need to catch back up on time. You want to go out and find a female to have sex with, things like that, or drugs, alcohol, partying, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't important to me. I knew that was only going to put me right back in the situation I was in before I came into prison. So I had to leave all that stuff alone. And anyone who's trying to better themselves has to do the same thing.
Right. So one thing I want to touch on is that, as minorities and as, I would say, impoverished communities, things like that are so much higher incarceration rates for people in the minority and lower income, I would say, communities. Iowa is one of the top states for that. As far as I can't remember exactly the statistic, we could look that up later. But I think we account for 10% of the population, but over about 50 to 55, 60% of incarcerated.
Yep.
I mean, how can we fix that?
Yeah.
Where does that where does that problem start?
Yeah,
And how do we get to a better solution?
the disparity in minorities, and that, first of all, it took place with the war on drugs, and they found out that that was a negative conclusion rather than a positive one. So what that did was locked up more African Americans all over the state of Iowa, all over the country for that matter. And they found out that that was not the right approach. However, we're still stuck in the year 2019 with the same mind frame. And living in the state of Iowa where it's predominantly Caucasians, we have to just be real. This is a part of that self-identity, Marty, with understanding, who you are, where you're at. For me, born and raised in Des Moines, I realize that there's been a lot of white people that have helped me. However, it's also a farm state. So I can't expect to come out and things. The culture is going to change. Meaning that these people have been doing this for years. So how do we stop it? Well, I think it starts with our laws, and it starts in Washington, D.C., and changing the laws and people actually being able to realize that, hey, we got to kind of loosen up a little bit, on this taking people to jail for nonviolent drug convictions, for nonviolent acts. We're filling up the prison systems and just warehousing people. And the majority of those people, of course, are going to be black because, that's naturally who they're going to target. I mean, when you look at...
It starts at a young age, too, right?
Yes, it does. But
Targeting portion of it. Then they say, oh, well, we're just following people that have a record, so they get you with a charge early.
Yeah.
Then they, have a justification on why, we're looking for people that have felonies or this or that.
And that's the key word, looking, because when these police officers are going out in the community and they're doing their patrols, they huddle up. They have a plan to come out and target certain areas, where it's high crime areas. Most of those high crime areas are in African American neighborhoods.
Right.
And so they're going directly there and they're looking, obviously, for crime.
Right.
So, you go out in West Des Moines, Johnston, Green Meadows, all these nice houses, they're not out there patrolling looking for crime, although there's still a lot of it out there.
Right.
But because they don't, there's not more 911 calls and the statistics, and all that kind of stuff. They overlook all that stuff and then go right into the inner city and find, the black man standing outside with his pants hanging down and, decide to pick on him.
Right, and they do say that, marijuana and drugs in general are used at the same rate amongst all,
everyone.
demographic.
That's right.
But yeah, that
why is it that
they
there's
being
more African
incarcerated.
American being incarcerated for it?
Sure.
It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And a lot of it is, they'll pull Caucasian over and they won't even search them, before they will African American, just because maybe they're not familiar with the cultural attitude, language, different things like that. All are factors to consider.
I had a gentleman told me he had trained to be a police officer. He's a Caucasian. And he told me, throughout his training, they started to tell him things. We're looking for these types of cars, these clothing brands. These folks are more likely to, commit crimes, things like that. And through that training, he didn't feel comfortable continuing with his police training.
Totally
anymore.
unfair.
But and he's actually a business owner now and doing well. But things like that. Also, I had read an article where there was an officer who actually reported that his sergeant was telling him, why are you pulling over so many Caucasian, middle-aged women? That's not what we're looking for, So he actually was eventually fired. through getting report, different write-ups and things, and he actually came out and had that conversation in the public, and so I know they were talking about a lawsuit and things like that, but just to really nail home that these things do happen, and it's
definitely. And a lot of this stuff I don't think is going to go away just because of where we're at. I mean, I think anytime you live in a Caucasian state, predominantly, you're going to have that character that comes with that. Right. That certain character, most African Americans are not going to be able to just relate to. You don't fit in to that class. And so, you have to deal with the people that are in power, pursuing the things that they know. Mm-hmm. So that comes with it.
So I guess we can't change the state of the police on our own. We can't rewrite laws tomorrow on our own. But I guess the only solution that's coming to my mind is maybe we can be better community leaders. And with that, and like with the program that you're working with, people don't have to sell these drugs to feel like that's the only way to make an income. Because I believe that that's what the mind state is for a lot of individuals, is that they've been making money off of that, but and they haven't found a legitimate business to be able to take advantage of that opportunity to make money a different way.
That's right.
So we know that people use drugs and probably sell them at the same rate amongst all communities, but as a minority community, or I would say a lower income community, we have to actually do better, to not put ourselves in those positions, as you may be being looked at.
Right.
More.
And I'll tell you, that's why I think it's good for this publicity to be talked about, on radio shows, wherever, television, because it's time that we make a change in not only our laws but also ourselves. I mean, we can't go out here and keep breaking laws and expecting to use the excuse that everybody's racist, too. We have to. There comes a time you got to look at yourself, and you got to be able to say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing wrong." I can't blame this on anybody's racism. I have to blame this on myself. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that the image program likes to focus on, is the self-identity part. What are you doing wrong? What can you do to change your behavior despite, what these other people are doing? God is going to take care of them for what they're doing, but we can take care and handle our own responsibilities for what we're doing.
So, excuse me. In the past, we've had some history with the idea on being able to police and maintain our own communities. And you've got certain communities like the Amish or the certain reservations with the Native Americans or any other thing like that, where they kind of do that on their own. You don't see police coming into their area. Do you think it's feasible for us in our community, or maybe even in the Hispanic community, to get to that point where we can establish our own true communities and be able to police ourselves and govern ourselves in the same manner?
Most definitely. However, it's going to take leadership. It's going to take people that can stand up and be leaders and have moral values and have respect. I mean, how many times do we see where we start, just say, for instance, a nightclub? You get a African American nightclub, a black nightclub. After maybe a month, it's popping. You got the DJ in there, and then now there's a murder. The second week or the third week, now there's a shooting incident. You see, a lot of these other minority groups, speaking Caucasian, Hispanic particularly, they don't necessarily display these issues like we do. And if you look up the statistics, you'll see, for some reason, and I could never figure this out, but I've been to California, New York, all over the country, and a lot of these African Americans are having businesses, or having restaurants, or having all these different types of things going on for years. Mm-hmm. And in Iowa, we'll have something for maybe a month, 4, 5, 6 months tops, and it's shut down. And sure enough, I mean, if you go to the statistics, you look at how many 911 calls have been reported, how many shootings, and they're using these statistics to shut these establishments down.
Right.
So we have to be able to overcome, these statistics and this negative behavior.
So when it comes to overcoming those statistics and the negative behavior, and this is a question for everybody, if we're talking about having our own separate, true community, not just one that we call us, but one that is owned and operated and governed by us like others do you think that we would be facing these same behavioral issues to the same level, or just how we act in general if we had the opportunity to have a place of our own to go back to? For example, the Asians have Chinatown, or even if you go to like certain states, they've got actual communities where it's like once you cross that border, a lot of the rules change. And so with them being able to govern themselves like that, you don't see a lot of stuff really happening in Chinatown like that. I'm sure there's stuff happening behind the scenes, but that's not out in the open, and it's not so dramatic. Do you feel like us not really having anything of our own, or having a home base to go back to, or constantly having to live and be around others who don't have the same culture or think like us, or is this an effect on us and our behavior?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we're at a disadvantage in the fact that we don't have that type of power to govern our own businesses.
Right.
And even the background behind the scenes. We're looking at we're at a disadvantage from the start.
Right.
And that's why we have to have the leaderships that can actually illustrate that and be able to demonstrate that, so that we can overcome it, because we're not the same. We're at a disadvantage in the fact that, first of all, they're sitting there waiting for those 911 calls. Mm-hmm. They're waiting for those shootings and murders to take place. Right. As soon as they see something going on, as soon as they see some type of movement, they just know that it's only going to be a matter of time.
Right.
And so we have to be smarter than that and be able to overcome that. And we haven't got to that point yet.
Right. Now, look.
I want to answer that too. So I came a little bit late. I go by Matthew, Midwest Matthew. I think we're going to do a little summary of what your program is real quick or something, because I missed the first part.
Okay.
But to go off of your question, Equinox, I think it does come down a lot to imagery and just the mindset of people. So when you look at like those clubs and stuff, the culture is kind of like hip hop. Because I've done different events and DJ different stuff. When I'm DJing, I can kind of see when a fight, it's kind of coming up or something. I might put on some R&B music, something to kind of like, make a chill vibe. So if it's a chill vibe, people are like, okay, let me respect this place. Let me just, chill out or whatever.
Leadership.
But yeah, some people, they'll just put on something, like kill them, shoot them in the club, shoot them in the club. And they're playing this music.
Turn it up.
And then they also got people in the crowd that have that same type of mentality. So now they're mean mugging, and now they're not even worried about getting a girl. They're just worried about, okay, who do I want to fight? So It's kind of about imagery, and then people having that mindset to where, okay, we're not going to do this. This isn't the type of thing that we need to do. So when you look at those Asian communities and whatnot, when they go to Chinatown, they know, like these are like family. I'm going to treat everybody like family. Like this is my brother almost, Mm-hmm. So I don't want to be shooting up. Yeah, there might be some Asian gangs and stuff, but they still got kind of a code that they live by, to where they don't want to tear up their own community. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just getting people's mindset to the right place. And I think that's kind of what the aim is, from what I understand, of the Conscious Collective or the Conscious Crew. So he's doing different kickbacks to where it's more conscious focused. So people are coming to drop some type of knowledge and share some type of knowledge. Definitely. Even this show to kind of share knowledge, so that people see, melanated people or whatever, maybe other people too, of different ethnicities working together and kind of sharing knowledge, and not really over here fighting and arguing and all that, like people see on TV all the time.
That was good you bring that up, man. That's an excellent point. I think that's important, because that's exactly what happens, and that's exactly what I've noticed and have seen since I was a kid, growing up in Des Moines and going to black events versus white events. When that time comes, when the pressure comes, we get more into our our culture. I mean, we're more aggressive, you know, we're a little bit more outspoken, you know, and that's just who we are. However, we have to be able to look at the fact that we're getting set up. Now, as we get a little bit too far deep, we got to slow it, turn the music down, change the music, you know, change the vibe. And so that's where the leadership comes into play.
Yep.
And education.
And even having a sense, like if you about to shoot somebody over $200, it's like $200. Is this worth me going to jail for $200 and then this person losing their life for $200?
You know, I feel like when people do that, like you hear about, there was actually a case of that. Somebody was murdered and robbed over a pound of marijuana. It's sad. And really, what you're talking about, not even $1,000 or whatever that may be. And did they really do it for the money? Or you know, sometimes when you have them, it's a crime of passion, I would say, or
Respect.
you know, someone's pride is hurt. That's why you know they want to act, you know, get violent with somebody or what have you. You know, so you know, it's kind of a culture, you know, thing too. Is, you know, oh, if you don't fight, if you don't do this or do that, you gonna let them do you like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's that pride factor.
Yeah.
You know, where as a culture, you know, if somebody in a different situation gets into an altercation, the person that started, they're gonna look down on that person. You know, where a lot of times we glorify that person in a community as, you know, oh yeah, he whooped his butt, you know what I'm saying, and all that. So you know, it's really like if somebody's acting out in that type of way, you know, they should be you know, looked at in a negative light as starting, you know, being a bully or starting something, you know, that they shouldn't, you know, it shouldn't have went to that level. Where instead we glorify that as, you know, oh yeah, he's the man, or you know, it is that, you know where I'm going with it.
You turn into the macho man when you were able to stand up for yourself or cuss somebody out or punk somebody out, you know. Unfortunately,
Prison mentality.
And so that was one of the things that separated me. You know, the more and more I, like I said, got into my Word of God and my Bible and started transforming and changing my mind, I realized that, you know, it's not good to act like somebody else. You know, I don't have a Southern accent. I don't have a thuggish accent. You know, I can just be me, and God showed me that by being you, there's opportunity out there, you know, for just being you. You know, the fights, you know, walking away from fights. I walk away from a fight. I can see a fight coming 8 times out of 10 a mile away, and even in prison. And I know those are the people that I need to disassociate myself with, you know. Or if there's a spontaneous situation where, you know, you find yourself about ready to have to get into a confrontation, you know, you have to sometimes be the first one to just bow down and say, look, man, I don't know, you know, what happened. I don't know where your attitude's at right now. But if you feel like I did something to disrespect you, I apologize. Sometimes that's all people want to hear.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Another thing is, you know, a lot of folks, younger cats, even myself included, I'm sure we all been victim to it a little bit, is we don't have these local community leaders that are out here. And we do, but we need more. Right. And the ones that are out here doing, not taking advantage of the situation, but actually trying to make a difference in the community, they you know, they need the funding. We need to support these folks to help them along their journey to enlighten younger cats and you know, people coming out of these situations so that they can better themselves. But the hip hop is sometimes the only leader that a lot of cats have, and who is it? Young Jeezy. Teaching you how to be a bird flipper and sell drugs, and it's so many of them. You know, those are the leaders in the minority community.
That's right.
You know, and they're not within our community. They are put there by design and through you know,
expressing themselves
by corporate. You know, they're corporately backed, and you know, we can go into what would you say, theories all day about about why these people are the ones being backed instead of, you know, getting back to the conscious music, which that's our main thing. Is you know, you can, I always say this, I'm gonna keep saying it every episode. It's not that we don't talk about the negativity in the community, and it's not that you know, everything's shiny and everything's perfect and we're living in nothing but peace and love. So we can speak about those issues, but we're not going to glorify it. You know, we're going to enlighten on the situation and tell the stories and hopefully inspire somebody to make better decisions.
I wanted to say something, even with the Young Jeezy thing, like he started off making, a lot of music about dope and he's a snowman, blah, 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 blah. I just saw him, he just came out with a new album and I saw him on an interview. Now he's doing tech stuff. So he got like a phone, he has like a cell phone that he came out with or something, or like some Bluetooth and blah, blah, blah. But then he came out with a new album still talking about the same stuff. So it's like, why would you not talk about it? I think it comes in the fear of like public perception. Like you don't want people to be kind of like what you're saying. I don't want them to think I'm a punk, blah, blah, blah. But I'm saying if you're making money and you sold dope, made music about dope, and now you're doing tech stuff, I feel like you should tell the youth, like, look, this, make a rap. If you're a skilled rapper, make music about, oh, well, I'm in the tech stuff and this is how I did this and blah, blah, blah. And, talk more about that type of stuff. You could always rebrand yourself and maybe make more of a something that people can look up to.
But see, he may not. The corporate backing may not be in line with those things. A lot of times, who was that? It was an artist. It was a famous artist. Say, okay, he brought an album to the table. He said, well, right now we're only signing violence and drug rappers.
Don't get signed.
And that's the thing about the Conscious Crew is that this gives you opportunity. We got recording opportunities. Production, promotion, we do booking, agents for shows, we're putting together a tour, and all these different things that we're doing, and, we're looking for positive messages, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying we don't have people on our shows sometimes that express have their own music and they do that, but as far as our Conscious Crew members, the core group, we're looking for artists that can bring enlightenment on the world.
Well, I tell you, Marty, I appreciate you having me here this morning. I didn't realize that this was really like this. I mean, you guys, I like the atmosphere. I like the setup. You're in an office. You're in a suite. You've got television, audio, video. I mean, you guys are really set up. Looks like you got all your ducks in a row, and it's positive. You have good people. I appreciate this. And if there's ever anything that I could do to help, if there's ever a time you guys want to come on the Image Show and we can just chop it up and talk a little bit about what you do, man, you got it. I mean, that's what I'm here for.
Well, I appreciate that invitation. We'll definitely link up on that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Why don't you tell us a little bit? I know you're on 98.3. Could you tell us a little bit more about your journey of getting on that station and what is your mission and what have you seen come from your program so far?
Well, again, so it started with just the vision coming out into society here and trying to accomplish all of my goals. I didn't feel like there was nothing that I couldn't achieve. I didn't put the fact that because I'm black and I'm in a farm state that I couldn't be the man on the radio show. I had never had any experience in radio. They always told me that I had the voice for radio, but that was it. So, I started doing a lot of telecommunication work and was always real good at that. So I thought, I bet that if I was able to get my own radio show that I would really be successful. And sure enough, I really just stood on faith and went after it, man. There was one day where I saw Tyreek and Sweezy from 98.3 The Vibe. They were doing an event when I was working for the Renew and Resale shop in Park Fair Mall. And they had an event set up. I just started talking to them. I told them my vision. And one thing kind of led to another. There were some roadblocks, of course. Now you got to negotiate the money, and I didn't have a dime to really be talking about that, but I talked about it through my faith, and I stood on faith, and then I would go back and I would pray about it. And I truly believe that just like the Bible says, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And so I put my faith and my trust in God, man, and I kept praying and fasting, and sure enough, opportunity just started breaking through the walls. And so people, they started giving me the opportunity. Then it came to the point to where, okay, they said, we can have you on the show. We can have you on KJJO or some of these other little AM stations. And I was like, nah, I don't want that. I kept pursuing 98.3 The Vibe because I knew that that's where my target of listeners were at. Sure. And so they kept still stirring me away from that and saying, okay, we could do this, we could do that. And I kept shooting them down. Nah, I would rather do this, 98.3 The Vibe. So then I said, finally, okay, well, if we did 98.3 The Vibe, we would have to change some things around. Okay, well, let's talk about how we can change some things around. You know, my focus still stayed on, you know, my passion and the people that I wanted to reach and the target that I wanted to reach. So eventually it opened up. I had to get the sponsors. I had to get the people, Evelyn K. Davis Center. You know, I then got a job, started working there. And I had no idea that the Evelyn K. Davis Center would really help me in sponsoring me through this radio show. But sure enough, they did. The director there, Marvin, he's seen my passion. He's seen that, you know, that's what, you know, the Evelyn K. Davis Center was a part of, was helping people. And because I was actually a new employer there, he gave me the chance and the opportunity to be able to help myself. And so I think it starts with self-identity. Once you realize who you are, what you want to do, everything else is going to open up. I think sky's the limit for anybody.
Right. I believe that too. You know, it's power of focusing your mind on something. You had your intention, you know, through, you say prayer, you know, if it's meditation, whatever it is for the individual.
Whatever it is.
Get your mind focused on your intention.
And that was just me, you know, for somebody else, you know, it could be whatever. But as long as you keep that focus, you know, and you keep pursuing those dreams and you stand on the man who you are. I mean, you can't, you know, obviously be all whacked out on drugs and you know, be living a complete different life. You have to be clear, right? Yeah, you got to be clear and focused, man.
Right, I agree.
Just like you guys are.
I appreciate it, man. You're
Yes,
pretty sharp
indeed.
yourself. So we appreciate you coming on, man. I think, you know, we covered quite a bit. I mean, what y'all show y'all got? What you thinking?
You said what else?
Putting you on the spot. You got
Real quick, could I get a rundown just of the program that you had going on? So you do 98.3 The Vibe as like a host or a DJ or something?
Yeah, well, I actually am the host of 98.3 The Vibe, or of the Image Reentry Show on 98.3 The Vibe.
Okay.
It airs every Sunday morning, and I'll give you guys a card as well.
What time is that at? Sunday morning starts at?
Sunday morning starts at 9 a.m.
Okay.
1 hour of power, full-fledged power. We talk about career fairs that are going on out there, upcoming events, guys that are out of prison now doing well, guys that have spent a lot of time in prison that have been out for years doing well.
Okay.
Just for instance, like Tony Mack, Mark Anthony Knowles from Cliponomics. You know, he's been on a couple times. You know, he's a great example of somebody who's gotten out and has changed his life, got his own business going. You know, and then we also have people like the director of the DOC come on, and they're able to give insight and ways from a different perspective.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Cool. So we got your show every Sunday, 9 a.m. on 98.3 here in Des Moines. Also with your image program, I know you said you're working with the...
Yeah, and with my image program, we're just getting ready to kick off a brand new project called First Fridays. And that's where every first Friday of the month we'll have a networking event, socializing event. And this is something that I'd like to get you guys involved in as well. Sure. We'll have basically 4 weeks where we'll have a 4-week curriculum. On that 4th week would be graduation. And so that would be the first Friday of each month. And throughout the other weeks, we would be able to talk about education, income, work support, things like that.
So this is people coming out.
People coming out of prison would be able to sign up. We're going to start off. We're only going to take 5 people to start off. Okay. And we're going to kind of let it grow. All
right. Cool, man. What else do we have? You say you also work with, is it Creative?
The Evelyn K. Davis
Evelyn
Center.
K. Davis, okay.
For working families.
Evelyn K. Davis.
And a financial empowerment center that's also there. And I also just wanted to tell you, we've got an event coming up on October 31st where I'll be a motivational speaker. And this is something new. A brother named Reggie White. He's a former basketball player, played at Hoover High School, originally from Chicago, Illinois. And he's down here just trying to make the best of himself, trying to put some events together and kind of find out where things are going to fall. But Day Vibes is going to be expo vendor, a networking vendor expo.
Okay.
It's an event that'll take place at 2134 East Grand Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa. That'll be on October 31st, Halloween night, and there'll be a bunch of different vendors there. I'd like to invite you guys to that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
See that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some more flyers here that I can
Okay.
pass out.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. You gonna flip it?
So
There it is.
I want to say, could you tell me a little bit about you guys here and what exactly, how you got this vision, how you guys came together and put this together?
Well, let's go to Midwest Matt. His is his establishment here. You know, we partner with him on a lot of things, and I've known him, been a good friend for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and.
All right, so I do a little bit of everything. My day job, I went to school for accounting, so that's what I do mainly. But I've been doing music for a minute, so I'm a musician, got into acting, so I also do some acting still, event promotion, do different events, and photography and videography mainly. And then now I'm doing a movie as well. So
Great.
I was looking for a place for a minute and just looking on Craigslist, different places, whatnot, finally found a place. And it just so happened things fell into place, and I ended up renting the space out. And then I got some equipment, told different people about it, just started connecting with other people, and started using it as a practice place or a practice space for, you know, events and just developing artist skills, I would say. So they can be on stage and maybe they don't have money to go rent out some venue that's charging them $300, you know, just to rent out.
Practice,
So
yeah.
so they got a place where they can come, feel comfortable, practice, do podcasts and get some experience. Because I also wanted to, we were talking about getting into radio ourselves, but I want to do my own station. And I was like, well, I can't really do that, but I can do a podcast thing, you know. So from the podcast, when people start getting more comfortable, then I also have people that I could talk to if I ever do get a radio station, be like, okay, you've been doing podcasting for like 2 years now. Why don't you transfer that over just to radio? So we'll still record you on the video, but now we'll be on FM radio or whatever, you know.
Right.
So it's just something just to kind of build from. And then Conscious Crew or the Conscious Collective is one of the ones that came through and started doing their own podcast.
Right. And we also, you know, we're seeking people. You know, we want to put together this Conscious Crew tour and things like that, and link with other conscious artists. You think about people that speak about, you know, J. Cole's of the world, you know, and then from Razcast to people, Tyler Quali, all these artists that share stories, are storytellers within their music. That, you know, we may be trying to link with artists to put tours together, but through doing the conscious kickback and things like that, give us the opportunity to see the talent, you know, that and build our team that we would like to go forward with as far as those tours and shows that we're working towards.
And as far as me personally, what brought me to this point in my life? So, since I was born, I was bred to be somebody who always kept the condition of my people at the forefront of my mind, and what my place and my responsibility and my duty was as an individual in order to help improve that. And so, even before I became an artist, that was where my passion was, finding out what the truth was, and then using that in order to improve, more specifically, my community and my people, but the world as a whole in addition. And so at first I started off doing activism. I was, you know, there in Ferguson for Mike Brown's funeral. I was with Malik Zulu Sabaz, the leader of the new Black Panther Party, or the former leader, bringing class action lawsuits against St. Louis and so on and so forth. So I did a lot of work when it came to doing that, but I also started off doing music. Back in 2010 is when I first started. I didn't really get serious about it until 2011, 2012. But while doing this, I had discovered that music is one of the most influential things on the planet. And one of my mentors back in the day told me that if you can change somebody's thought process you can change the actions that follow those thought processes.
Amen.
And so I got into music because with a lot of people listening to the music growing up, I used to fall asleep to music, and that'd be playing in my head while I'm unconscious. And a lot of people don't know that sometimes that's the best time to learn is when you're asleep. You can actually learn a lot when you're doing that. So I'm being programmed, and I know how condition I was, and so I wanted to reverse some of that, and so I became a conscious artist, got together with artists like DK, Emmett Phillips, met Marty. I think that was through the DSM Brew was the first time I believe we had gotten connected. But then Marty had the idea to get all the conscious artists together and form almost a union, and so that brings me here to where I'm at today.
So you guys all are a piece of the puzzle is what it sounds like.
Right.
That's beautiful, man.
And it just keeps growing. More pieces come into place, and
Well, I tell you, man, if there's anything, like I say, that you can include me in to be a piece of this, because I like the character of you guys. I can just kind of feel the warm feeling and the humbleness, and the success here that you guys are striving for. You guys are pretty well represented. You speak well, you talk well, you seem like you're trying to really do something that's making a difference in our community.
right. Yep.
Likewise. They say. So yeah, this is important, man. We're all I'm glad that everybody came on the show today, and like you said, you got your you're gonna be speaking October 31st.
Yeah, and this is something new. I don't really know anything about. I think Day Vibes is something like, again, Reggie White, he's putting this together, so it'd be good for the community to support it. An expo, for those who may not know, it's a big table event where guys are coming in from out of town. They're selling stuff that you can't buy, just at a normal store, especially here in Des Moines, Iowa. I went to just for instance, the Clash of the Clippers Expo where Big Rob had at Prairie Meadows there. And I bought me a couple pair of glasses there, and they were, really nice, something that I could have never found. And then I noticed that they had like trimmers, edgers, for African American, certain different type of things that you just don't find anywhere else. So I think that it would be worth everyone's time to go out and support this event.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's see. So we got this. We got your program. We got the conscious kickback last night, man. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was good time.
Yeah, it was a lot of talent.
A lot of talent out there, man. It was a really good time. I think we're gonna take a little bit of time off. I think we're gonna do something closer to the holidays, as far as like we talked about, doing a conscious Christmas or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Or around that season. So we might take a little bit of time off. Right now, we're building some structures and getting our artists all organized as far as make sure that everyone's got the proper distribution, publishing, and things like that. We've got that all in works, and just want to really solidify that group. Take this time. We've seen a lot of good talent. Now we're going to see, for sure, how we can move forward most effectively. So we're going to take about a month off, and then, like I said, we're going to try to focus on that tour and coming out next year, and also bringing in, some regional acts. We talked to a few people as far as, strange music. We got a guy with him, an artist named Joey Cool that we're thinking about bringing on to do our next Conscious Christmas kickback. And,
that's wonderful.
And
wonderful.
Yeah, and so try to elevate it.
I've got something that I'm working with. It's an idea. It's a new project. Also, it's kind of fresh, and I'm working with it in the back scenes with KCCI, and we're looking at trying to start a television networking show. And so this is something that I would like to get with you guys about. It sounds like that that there could be some pieces we could put together to maybe make this work. At least talk about it and see if there's some interest there.
Yes, indeed.
Quick plug for myself real quick. On the 26th of this month in October, we've got myself, DK, and Emmett Phillips. And DJ Marty, doing a show at the I think the newest venue in Des Moines.
Yeah, it is.
XBK, and that's going to be a great show. When you talk
When is
about
that?
content, what is it?
Yeah. When?
Oh,
When?
when?
Next
The
Saturday.
26th.
Next
so
Saturday.
next Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Or this
All right.
upcoming Saturday.
Yes,
Okay.
it's at the newest venue in Des Moines, as far as I'm aware of. Just opened up right behind Fernando's on University. I don't know if you know where that's
Yeah.
at. Fernando's Day
Over the
Dreams.
Drake community.
Yeah, in the Drake
Okay.
community.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a good show. It's a good lineup. Like, and the people that know myself and the other artists know and can stand, behind our talent and our dedication to what we do. And so, like I said, October 26th at XBK.
And the XBK is 1159 24th Street, Des
Now,
Moines.
is that Lefties? Is that the old?
No,
No,
This is a
it's
different place.
now it's
It's
Okay,
up the street from
here's
Lefties,
Lefties.
though. Yeah.
there's like Fernando's and stuff right here. There's a parking lot behind those buildings though.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's right there, but that's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
See, I've never been there or DJ'd there yet either, with it being
Yeah.
new. But it looks like it is in the Drake University neighborhood. And when I got asked to do this, I took a look at some photos and some videos that they had taken of the new space.
Looks nice.
And it is nice. It's all new, renovated, and they got good, high level of equipment and things like that. As a DJ, I'm looking. Okay, now what's their board look like? So they definitely put some thought into this. And as far as I know, there's a couple folks that they headed this thing up, and they also support artists, and obviously they're new and they're already bringing in local talent to allow them to showcase their performance and things like that. So
Well,
it
real
looks like it's
quick.
going the right direction.
So yeah, if we're doing plugs and we're closing out, I wanted to say I think I'm gonna have a show on November 9th. But besides that, just go get my new album, Midwest Matthew Black God. That's my newest album. And then I have a lot of other stuff out. So and then you can follow me on everything Midwest Matthew or the Midwest Matthew. It's gonna be one or the other. But yeah, definitely go get that new album. I got just spitting bars. What I do. So.
Spit bars. Is this on Facebook? Where are we live on? I mean,
this is going to be on Facebook,
Okay.
YouTube, and all the shows are going to be listed.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Good,
So,
good.
but all right, I appreciate y'all coming on.
Thank you,
All
man.
right,
You guys
sure,
are a good
sure.
group of brothers. I really like this, man. I appreciate the invitation.
All right.
Sure.
And all y'all out there, make sure you link with everybody that's on the show. I appreciate you watching, and have a great day.